Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the Bunker Buddies podcast. I am one of your co-hosts, Blackout Brandon.
I'm your other co-host, JD.
And today we have with us...
Texas.
The entire state of Texas is here.
Yes, all of us. We are all here.
All right.
Yeah. So you might remember Texas from an older episode. We did bring him on. We're going to be doing something very similar today. We're going to be talking about the first 72 hours. So this is basically what we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about what you need to survive, we'll say, an event. Where I believe we've all agreed on a natural disaster as our scenario for this one, correct?
Yes.
Yep. There's all kinds of reasons why you might need to get out. Most likely is natural disaster. Other reasons might be either an outbreak of some kind or a war or a terrorist attack, but the most likely would be a natural disaster. So that's what we're going to focus on for today.
All right. So before we get too far into it, let's go and talk about our BOP, our Beer of Podcast. I know it's been a while since you've seen us, and I know it's been a while since I've seen Blackout. If you follow me on any social media, you know that me and Texas hang out all the time online. You can go find us when we live stream either on my YouTube channel, or you can go find the Beer.Beans.Bullets channel. So our Beer of Podcast today, at least for me in Texas, we got Dos Equis.
You guys both got Dos Equis?
Yeah, I know that I got a can. He has a bottle. I also have Dos Equis Chelada.
All right. Well, I was getting ready for an exercise whenever I got the warning, so I did not have the chance to buy alcohol. So for me, whatever I had in my cupboard is what I had. And today I'll be drinking Jameson Stout Edition.
Ooh.
Lucky for you. Lucky for you, I can pull double duty because I also have a bottle of Jameson that I can take some shots with you.
Like I said, I'm getting ready for an exercise tomorrow, so I don't really have the opportunity to drink a bunch, but I got my nice ass whiskey glass. I'll go ahead and pour just a bit.
Never leave a man behind.
All right. Now, before we get too far into this topic, just to kind of stay on theme, as you can see, I'm a little dark here. I kind of wanted to do more natural light, but because the sun is going down, I do have one little light right here. You can kind of see it. And then I also got me just some candles that I have laying around. I always pick up candles anytime I can. Spooky.
So it's an awesome prepping item.
I know. Candles are a great thing to have. And then, since the last time you've seen us, especially seen us with Texas, if you didn't know, Texas has his own podcast I'm going to promote now, and we'll promote it one more time at the end of this episode. But if you have not, go check out the Texas Tinfoil Podcast. You can find it on YouTube.
Thanks, JD. I appreciate that. We're not on everything else yet, man, but thanks. We on our most recent one that we haven't released yet, we also have shout out the Bunker Buddies as well. So we've returned the favor prior to you even knowing anything about it. So,
oh yeah,
cheers, cheers, family,
cheers.
All right, let's dive in. So we've talked about this many times, and we kind of talked a little about survival in previous episodes, but we are going to say there's a natural disaster. Let's say we're on the East Coast or probably near Texas. I mean, anywhere that you can find a hurricane, I think is a great not a great natural disaster. I don't wish
a great example of a national disaster or natural
disaster. A great
disaster.
example of a natural disaster is a hurricane. So we're talking about this natural disaster hits. We do not have any power, which means you probably don't have electricity. Whatever percentage your phone is at is what it's at. And even then, you might not have service. So kind of with these parameters in mind, who would like to start us off of what we kind of need to be prepared for and maybe some things that we need prior to this natural disaster?
All right. So go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, in terms of gear, the more you have beforehand, that's not always better. More options are better, of course, but if you don't actually do any training with any gear, it doesn't do you any good because you're carrying 40 to 80 pounds worth of junk. That's essentially what you're doing if you don't know how to use it. So training is everything.
This is called a 72-hour bag. You should be able to fit everything you need for just you and yourself for 72 hours in a bag this small, and it should be ready to go because you never know what's going to happen.
Great example. I have one as well, but I did not bring it with me.
Mine was out in my
Actually,
truck, but we started talking about it. And it's like, yeah, maybe it's a good idea to go grab it since it's going to be a subject of today.
that's where mine is right now. It's actually tucked away under the back seat in
Mm-hmm.
in my truck. So because that's the vehicle I drive most often, and if anything happens, I also double it up as a get home bag.
Yep.
So anyway, sorry to interrupt.
No, you're chilling. I think equipment's a great thing to start with. So what are some obvious pieces of equipment you can think of? We've got compass, tools, like an e-tool of some kind. Camelback is an obvious one. You saw whenever I had mine there, first aid kit. That's a pretty obvious, sort of piece of equipment that people think about. Sleeping bag. What's some other obvious pieces of equipment you guys can think about?
Water. What are they? Water ionized tablets.
Oh, that's a great one.
I have a couple that you'd left in the bunker that I keep in my first aid kit that I have here.
Fantastic.
Okay, guys, I'll lay out a full spread if that's all right with y'all.
Yeah, let's hear it.
First things first, the Blackout's got a backpack. To me, that's essential. If you can get a backpack, I will start there. Duffel bags are great, but putting a strap on one shoulder, if you have to hoof it, you want to talk about getting a hot spot really fast, you're going to be switching shoulders really fast. Backpacks, you're going to look like the dorky kid in school, but guess what? You'll be the most comfortable guy on the way out of whatever part of the East Coast you're on when you're hoofing it, because of all the vehicles being blocked up on traffic jams, or maybe your car gets flooded out on I-95 or something, God forbid.
It's also important for backpacks as well, is that you remain hands-free.
Yes.
Yep.
That's what I was just going to say. This allows you to have all of your stuff supported, evenly carried, the weight distributed on your body and your hips. So your arms are free, hands are free, and any tools you may need to have within immediate, I need right now distance, you can throw those on your belt or however you decide you want to carry that. Yep. Inside of that bag, first thing I would carry would be as much water as I can carry, whether that be water bottles, whether that be Camelback. You guys figure out how you want to go about it. Me personally, I carry
to bring on to your point, a great example of that is to have you can't have just one source of water. This Camelback is fucking fantastic. I love it. I've got it hooked up right here. It allows me to keep my hands free. Like you said, you want to have as much as you can. So the Camelback's not just going to do. Like you said, bringing it back to the belt, having any sort of means to attach things outside of your backpack because of the limited space. First aid kit on the outside, iPro on the outside. Canteen. I know it's a retro item, but even today, they use freaking canteens along with their Camelback and water bottles. You can't stress that enough. Good job pointing that one out.
Without water, you're dead. I mean, you can go down the list of the things you need. Water is in the top 3. So
whenever you go get in a survival situation, the amount of water you need to drink triples.
Because you are exerting yourself. You're not sitting behind a desk in the cool air conditioning or the little fan or the heater or whatever. You're not doing that. You're exerting yourself, and you may be doing something you're not used to doing. For guys that just sit behind a desk, or are guys are real sedentary nowadays. They're not always running around doing stuff, and it's just the world we live in, man. I've been guilty of that for a lot of the stuff I've been through, which is why I'm currently working on trying to get better physical health now. So the better baseline you are physically and mentally, the better off you are. The more training you have with the gear you're going to carry, the better off you'll be. So you have your
touch
backpack.
On that one last.
Yeah, because nobody wants to talk. Everybody wants to talk about this high speed, low drag gear. Like, look, man, I got my badass Night Force. Cool, bro, but do you know how to use it? When have you ever gone out to do anything with it, right? So
don't worry, I've got a whole spiel for that at the end. I wanted to save that for last. Believe me, that's gonna be my whole focus for the last bit.
Hey, I'm priming the pumps on it. Then I got you.
Yeah,
I got you.
We're going ahead and Drew to do that. That way they have to stick around to the end to find out about it.
more worms on the hook, guys. Stick around.
Exactly.
So in the water source, what I believe is more important than just bringing water to drink is having a way to drink water. What I mean by that is, if you, like you mentioned earlier with a canteen, if you have an open top bag, all that stuff is great. But if you cannot find a way to replenish water, you're already up shit's creek. You have to have a water filter, get you a life straw, get you whatever I don't want to drop a bunch of name brands, but pick you something, whatever it is. You get your Sawyer Mini with a squeeze bottle, whatever it is that you're into. Pick your flavor of "I'll save your life" type of materials.
Yep.
Make sure you work with it. Make sure you test it. Make sure you know how to use it, and that way you can carry a bag, fill it up with water that we consider to be unclean. You don't have to sit there and boil it for an hour. You don't have to do all this other stuff. You can press it through that filter, and 99% of it's clean. And whatever if you absolutely have to, life or death, you can sip on that. Still better
Ain't
to
gonna
boil
taste
it.
good. Yep, it
Yeah.
ain't gonna taste good. It's not gonna be the most. It's still not gonna be the most sanitary water, but it's a hell of a lot better than dying.
Mm-hmm. At least you'll live long enough to have the diarrhea. You know what I mean? So
Yep. All right.
you don't die of
So-
dehydration immediately.
So
Then,
that's go ahead.
oh no, I was gonna say, guys, I will say this, and Blackout, you're probably gonna appreciate the hell out of it. Most military guys do. Carry extra socks, and if they can be
Oh
wool,
my god, yeah.
and if they can be wool, they're expensive as shit, but buy wool socks, because wet or dry, they're least likely to fuck up your feet. And when they're wet, if it happens to be cold, it still manages to maintain your body temperature, keeps
Yep.
your feet from freezing. So, and even in the heat, you would think, wow, my feet are going to sweat really bad. Really, maybe not. But I've switched from cotton socks to wool socks just within the year, and the difference is insane. I thought, well, it's going to be hot and it's going to suck. No, it's very, believe it or not, it doesn't really smell. They're easy to clean. Wool is amazing. All right.
Yeah. So the problem I've had with cotton socks is, wool socks you sweat more, right? I get it. It's a thicker material, you're gonna sweat more. But with cotton socks, whenever you sweat, what bit of material is there gets very saturated very quickly, and it causes a lot more problems with your feet.
And wool wicks the water away, and it's faster to dry, easier to clean. Cotton is not the case. What are you gonna do, Blackout? You're gonna sit down, pull your socks off, put on your new ones, slip them back into your wet boots, and hang these socks off the back of your pack so they can dry in the sun as you're walking.
Yep.
That helps, but I just think that's crucial. Footwear is crucial. So if you guys don't have good shoes, good work, like hiking boots or whatever, if you're gonna run on your Converse in the woods, probably, good luck to you. Probably not the best idea.
Yep.
So,
JD, you all good over there? I'm gonna go ahead and give him a minute, make sure he can hear us.
I think he's still trying to figure out some of the technical issues we've had.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm having audio issues. I can hear you, but my mic keeps saying that it's out.
Well, we can hear you pretty well. That's not a bad sounding mic. So if you want to just run with that, we can do that.
Yeah, I'm just.
Oop.
Now
Lost
it's
him.
cutting out.
Yeah, it cut out.
The right mic. I think this is
Yeah, that was working.
this one.
Yeah.
I just don't know if it's the. I think it's this one.
That
is definitely the one.
This is it.
Yep.
Cool.
lavalier mic.
Yeah,
Nice.
I have it here now. I can't go far.
Cool. That's all right.
Okay.
Did you have anything to add to the socks thing that we were talking about?
No, I think shoes are very important. I have a couple. My boots, I actually need to go get new ones. I'm a very big believer in like polishing and cleaning your boots. I know a lot of people do that with like sneakers because they're sneakerheads. I do it because I think a good pair of boots should last you a while. My downsize, I have not found a good pair of insoles. Insoles for me usually last maybe like 3 to 6 months. I walk right through my
I cannot
insoles.
touch on the insoles enough. Insoles turn this BMT kicker, this piece of shit that they issue you that everyone replaces as soon as they can. It turns these from unbearable nightmares to very easily comfortable boots that I just spent hours in the field for the last couple weeks with.
Wool socks is a natural cushion, guys. Just gonna
yeah,
throw that out there. But it may not be issued to you, but again, there's a lot of things that aren't issued to you. That civilian side of this, you have unlimited options. You can kind of find whatever, pick whatever. It costs a little more, but there's a few things that I've noticed when it comes to guns, gold, and liquor. usually it's worth its weight. So if you have to pay more, it's probably worth it. Not always,
Yep.
but probably.
There are better, probably more comfortable boots like that don't necessarily need to be combat ready that you can use for civilian hiking wear that are a lot cheaper than that just because they don't have the military grade on there. 100% would recommend it. This is what I got, and you know what? With the right inserts and some wool socks, it works pretty damn well.
Yeah.
And so moving past that real quick, not that it doesn't matter, but
No, you're right.
Keep it trucking here. JD mentioned the thing with water, a way to clean water, whether it be a filter. If you can carry a canteen, that's great. But what I noticed is if you're able to carry a small mess cup, you guys can pick this up. The canteens can sit inside of them. They're metal or tin cup.
Yep.
That an Nalgene bottle can fit in, or canteen itself can fit in. You can use that to make a small fire with whatever you find. This goes into being prepared for that as well. If you can buy some Durasticks or fat wood or whatever in your area that you can just kind of hang out and just make a small fire, you can boil some water and, believe it or not, roll some marshmallows if you're in the mood. It'll be a good morale booster. But all jokes aside, being able to make fire is probably in the top 3 pertinent things you need to be able to do.
It's we use it a lot for like instant coffee. Using the canteen, or like it literally, what he's talking about, if you don't know, fits. Let me grab my canteen real fast.
I like how blackout is. It's just I've let everyone down.
It literally fits directly on the canteen, and so you can keep it in the same canteen pouch. And whenever space is always a concern, being able to fit something inside of itself like that, fantastic.
And in terms of clothes, it's 72 hours. For guys that are not familiar with exactly how long that is, it's like 2.5 days. I just consider it 3 days because you're going to have at least 12 hours out of the clothes you're wearing when you start. So just think of 3 days, right? And I get it's 36 hours. You're like, that's most people consider it that way. They're like, because it's 3 12-hour days. I'm like, no, you're not considering what it is at night. You guys have to remember that as well.
Yeah.
So short of what I'm getting at here is, think of it as having 3 days worth of clothes. I would pack no more than that. A couple shorts, a couple pants, a couple shirts. You're not going on vacation. It doesn't have to be nice. It has to be comfortable.
Yep. And that's another thing is like, you don't need to grab, even for me, I don't grab extra shirts. I don't grab extra pants. I run with what I got, and I save that space for extra underwear, extra socks, and maybe a sleeping bag or other stuff like that. My 3-day bag is a lot smaller than it used to be now, and that's because I've made sacrifices like that. If you have the space to grab a couple extra shirts, go for it. It's just not something that, it depends on your concerns. Are you willing to, you're going to be out in the woods or out in the desert for a few days? Do you really care about how much you smell? No, but that underwear and those socks are going to, if you don't have clean ones of those, it's going to make your life hell, unlike with shirts and pants.
Right. Well, the reason I was bringing up the thing with the shirts and pants is if you're able, usually during a natural disaster, when you're camping in the woods just to escape from whatever, that's one thing. But this is all assuming that you're on your way to a massive, I don't recommend this at all, guys. But if you're leaving a natural disaster, most people leave toward a shelter. There's usually something set up along the way of, hey, we have a base camp out here by the Red Cross,
school gymnasium or something like that. Yeah.
And, hey guys, you can sleep here. You know, facilities suck, but it's at least you're out of the elements. So going with that same theme, you have your water source. We have basic clothing. The reason I say get a few days worth, so you have an extra pair or two of or one pair of pants is what I would go with, instead of maybe some shorts, shirt or two, plus what you're wearing. You should be able to cycle through that if you have to. Blackout had a perfect thing to say. Your underwear is way more important because that's what's against your skin all day, every day. So that's what's gonna be the most foul right away. So if you're not familiar, just check out anybody in history ever with crotch rotch. I'm gonna say it backwards. Are we allowed to say crotch rot on here, or?
I think that's fine.
I don't know.
Oh,
I think it will be fine.
I was doing the switching of the syllables to But if crotch rot doesn't matter, then anyway, just check that out. It's terrible. If you guys can do that, that'd be great. And in my pack, I also carry a tarp. I carry a
Fantastic.
a 6x8 tarp because you can make shelter out of that, keep you out of the sun, or in this case, keep you out of the rain because there's a hurricane on the way, whatever the case is. And also have paracord. If you guys aren't familiar with that, you can use clothesline or any other string you find. Paracord is more expensive, but I mean, you do get a lot more benefits with it.
I don't have my keys on me, but that's what my keychain is. I have a thing of paracord. About I think it's like 26 feet of paracord I have on my keychain.
Mm-hmm. I keep paracord in my bag, and additionally in my truck, I have the wristwatch I was wearing out in the field. It's got a little whistle on it as well as a little fire starter, and it's just paracord. You can't have enough of it. What's really nice about paracord is it has strings inside of there. If you're willing to pull apart your wrist, your paracord watch or whatever it is, you're likely willing to pull apart the actual paracord itself for some different, having more paracord to work with.
Yeah, more options.
Yeah.
So JD, what's some more obvious things that people keep in their bag that we could talk about before moving on to the less obvious ones?
So obvious things that I think you should keep in your bag is a source of light. So like I obviously keep candles around.
Kind of hard to walk through a hurricane with, but that's more important.
I got a big flashlight. This is also like a bat. I got a small little one. This one I actually got at AutoZone. What's great about this one is it's magnetic and it also extends.
I think I have something similar to that in this bag right here.
That's dope, man. I like that.
This one is great.
Ours is the same one. Wait, is it the same one we bought at the same time?
We bought these at the same time.
Yeah.
I was like, Blackout, this is when you were working there.
Yeah, it's great. That's a great one because you may not want to be operating at night, but you may not have a choice. You may have to move. You may have to get out of the rain. You may get woken up by animals or whatever else. So
yeah, I mean, It's not a bad option. Like I have handheld flashlights, but I also got headlights and stuff like that. So I mean, it's not something you should take for granted. If you can, a headlight is great. Just again to keep you hands free and to keep you moving.
Yep. Any other obvious things we can talk about before moving into the less obvious things people may not think about?
Well, you did mention the compass thing. Not everybody knows how to use one, so that's. I think if you have a general map of your area, I'll just show you right here. There's a map of the entire state of Texas representing. Anyways, if you have a map, whether it be for the state or just your general area, I'm going to assume that if you live in this place, you're going to know at least 2 or 3 surrounding counties, kind of how to get there. But what do you do past that if you have to move past that? In your car, you can drive wherever, but when the roads are no longer available, what do you do?
And not only that, like everybody has a GPS, but you're going to be wanting to use this for, you're only going to have a limited amount of battery. And so all the time you're spending using this as a GPS is a time that it could be used as a communications device later. So something to keep in mind on that front.
And in my pack specifically, I carry a Baofeng. Now, the UV5Rs are their base level Temu, 50 cents a piece, kind of budgetary, nonsensical items. That's what everybody always says. But they have tons of stations you can flip through. And with that, you can gather information such as what's going on with the weather in the area. There are channels in whatever area you are. There are constantly broadcasting the weather, the time, conditions to be expected within the next 24 hours. That whole thing. So you have NOAA, you have NOAA, you have all these resources at your fingertips. And we had talked about using this before during the apocalypse broadcast or theme of the apocalypse broadcast. Like I said before, during an emergency, technically you can communicate. So if you have other people in your area and you happen to get separated or you're moving into that area during an emergency, when your cell phone, the battery dies, or let's say the phone gets wet and now you have a rectangle of nothingness because it doesn't work, you can always use that as a way to communicate In an emergency, the FAA, or okay, I said the FFA. Nobody is going to show up here.
Yeah.
The Federal Communications
Yeah. FCC.
Bureau. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. So I totally screwed up the acronym.
That's fine. Everyone, there's no government agency going to be coming for you in a time of need where you're like,
Right.
hey, I'm stranded out in the middle of nowhere. Is there any police or medical people that can get to me?
Right.
And that the radios are super easy to track. Direction finding. If you tell you, hey, keep contacting us, that way we can figure out where you're at.
Mm-hmm.
No one's going to get angry at you for medical emergency or something like that.
And it's really, you're exactly right. It's easy to triangulate all the GMRS radios and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
If nothing else, the guys who have ham radios, they hate anyone with a handheld ham radio, and they'll find you. They'll be the first one. They'll be the first to snitch on you immediately. I promise.
Yep.
So anyhow, I said the FAA for whatever reason. I was thinking of the Federal Aviation Administration, which is having to do with airplanes. Again,
they still get angry if you start talking weird shit on their radio frequencies too.
That's what I was gonna say. But usually those guys monitor most of the airwaves on pretty much everything, anyways. But if you're close to an airport, which is, I mean, if you're on the East Coast, you've got like Atlanta, Jacksonville, Orlando, Tampa. You've got tons of places just in the South right there with airports that'll probably be picked up on. That's not including like stuff in North Carolina, like, Charlotte or Nashville or wherever else, whatever you are on the East Coast or Eastern Seaboard trying to escape this hurricane. And the guys in Appalachians, I'm not really worried about them trying to get out of where they are because majority of the time the hurricanes don't really reach that far up there. But when they do,
the Appalachians they handle things themselves pretty damn well.
That's what I was just about to say. Those guys are a different breed up there. So that's
yeah.
All the respect from Texas for the guys in the mountains up there, Smoky Mountain. Cheers.
So another piece of kind of forgotten equipment that's really freaking useful all of the time. A little freaking notebook.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I cannot tell you how useful this is for writing down whenever you're out. It's a little write and rain. Definitely recommend getting them. They're a little bit more expensive than a regular notebook, but this thing has gone through the wash and you can still read my little grocery list that I made there. Trail mix, bootlaces, AAAs. This is something you use before you go out, writing down all the things like radio frequencies that are like local police departments, things to use your Baofeng more effectively, all the way down to writing down things that you don't want to forget while you're out there. At this time, I started bleeding here, and that's something you want to tell medical providers should the need arise where you're in an emergency, stuff like that. Fantastic item. With that, get some pens and a Sharpie. Super useful piece of equipment that I keep in my shoulder pouch because of just how often I'm using it in the field.
And since there's a hurricane on the way in this scenario, do not use gel pens. They will run. Get you an old school Bic ink stick, like a very old school ballpoint pen.
Yep.
You get you a mechanical pencil, or if you use a regular pencil, that's fine too. All you got to worry about is the pages rubbing together and your notes getting a little smeared. But for the most part, I bought a case of these Right in the Rain notepads. Actually, I've got a box. Everything we're talking about, I have literally in the other room. so like, I've got like 2 spare Baofengs. I've got the extended batteries for them. I got all this stuff in the other room. And for medical kits, it's kind of hard to go over what exactly a person needs to carry, because if you're not,
it's all specific. Yeah, if you're not trained to use it, or if you just buy whatever Grantham says looks good. Now, Grantham is a big proponent of know your equipment, but like if you don't listen to him and you just buy whatever he has, you're carrying around a bunch of useless shit you don't know how to use. You probably won't need to use. Whereas, like for instance, I've got a freaking cat tourniquet on here for quick combat employment of somebody with like a severed limb or massive hemorrhaging. That may not be something that you need to use in a hurricane. So finding a way to figure out what's most likely going to be happening to you and working with that.
The number one thing you guys should have with you, and that is always overlooked, whether you take the entire roll or you just stretch out about 10 feet of it, is duct tape. Because
Yep.
if you have boots, shoes, anything rubbing your skin and your socks are trashed or torn or something happens or you lose one, whatever, you can always use that. It's cheaper than moleskin and it'll keep the blisters off your feet. You'll be surprised how much that helps. But it's duct tape is they fixed the space station with duct tape. They fixed the Boeing airplanes with duct tape.
Well, I mean, Boeing did. We see how that went for Boeing. So,
I mean, yeah. So don't be surprised if you're walking through the woods just trying to make it out of your area, and the flights are the planes overhead are raining down, parts all over you as you're trying to leave. You can probably get duct tape off of there. You know what I mean? So you may not need to pack it. You might not need to pack it.
Before I ask JD what his not very obvious piece of equipment is, another thing that duct tape can be used for is signaling. Very useful tool for signaling a helicopter or other people you're trying to get a hold of. Like, hey, I'm over near this area. You see them walking by a little bit too far out for you to yell. Or if you are yelling and they're like looking over in your direction, can't exactly narrow you down. Having a piece of duct tape is better than nothing. I mean, a mirror would be better, but duct tape's pretty reflective. So,
yes.
So JD, what is your?
Whoa.
Ooh,
what's up?
Hello there. What is your not very obvious piece of equipment that you would keep in your 3-day bag or just something you take with you on a 3-day?
I mean, not obvious, but I mean, like I carry like my knife, I carry my gun. I'm trying to think of other basic things. I mean,
think of something obscure that people may not think about.
I'm thinking like rags and like clean fabrics, I guess you would call it. Anything that I can wash or reuse for multiple reasons is if I need if I don't have anything to filter, right? My water, you can use an old shirt, you can use different fabrics. If you don't have a tourniquet, like you can use a belt, a shirt. It's not going to work as well, but I mean, like, it's something. And again, the other thing is what I'm thinking of is if I'm by a river and I need to take a dump and I don't have toilet paper, I'm going to take a rag, wipe, wash, and repeat.
A clean rag is very useful for all sorts of things. Yeah. And that's something kind of like you don't want to it's something you don't want to ruin your perfectly clean underwear for, but you also don't want to use your freaking sweat stained underwear you just hiked literally 24 hours through. Having a clean rag is very useful. Something I don't have in here.
Which doubled up for what I was saying as to carrying a couple extra pairs of pants, shorts, or shirts, because you have extra fabric for that reason. And if at all possible, what I do with mine, I roll them up and compress them, and I put them in a 1 to 2 gallon plastic Ziploc sandwich bag. Sandwich bag. Yeah, just shrink wrap that up, put it in there, because 2 reasons. 1, it keeps it dry, and 2, it compacts the shit out of it, so you have more space.
Yep.
And as for carrying food, I can't recommend what people should carry because there's so many different dietary restrictions. But if you can, you can't really go wrong with something that's filling. Like if you can carry any kind of packs that are powdered. I have a bunch of nutrient survival single packs. They look very similar to like a protein powder. You just add them in a cup full of boiling water, stir it. As it thickens, it turns into a meal. It's instant. You eat it. If you got Mountain House, you can use that. There's 100 different things you can do. But if you can carry a few of these, they're expensive, but if you can pack them away for 3 or 4 days, just 2 meals a day, get you 6 or 7 of them in there. That will take you further than you'll believe. And a couple handfuls of trail mix, Skittles, anything for instant energy.
So on the cheap end of what I grabbed for snacks while I was out and about, that's what I was actually getting right before I came in. Aside from some bootlaces as well, was I got trail mix, some licorice, and liquid IV. Those were those snacks will carry you a long way. But that's like on the bottom end of like how much you're willing to pay. But if you want something to stay in your go bag to be ready to go anytime, It's expensive, but these things are fucking fantastic. And they will. I got a Southwest style beef and black beans to look forward to tomorrow. They'll freaking keep you going for. They've got like 3,000 calories. You can keep them you can go off that for 3 days. May not be the most comfortable you're going to be. Probably want some more food besides just one of those, but hey, it's got the calories you need.
And if you can carry instant coffee,
hell yeah.
Carry instant coffee. That's a lifesaver there. But here's just a few of the packs I was talking about. This happens to be new. It doesn't have to be nutrient survival, but these are packs that I have like an entire box of these, probably about 30 packages of this. So it's about almost a month's supply. And they're individual servings. So with that metal can I was talking about that your canteen fits in, or the Nalgene bottle fits in, boil some water, tear one of these open, toss it in, stir it with your mess spoon, which we didn't get into silverware, but if you can carry a spoon or a camping foldable spoon, that's good too, or a spork.
Yep.
That's fine. But more than anything, no one's mentioned it yet, and I'll be the guy to do it. A fixed blade full tang knife.
Yes.
Do I have mine?
Go ahead.
I just want to see.
Get you a K-bar. Get you a buck knife that's full tang. Pick a thing. It doesn't matter. Just buy one that works. Buy one that's tough. Do some stuff with it. Make sure you test. I'm not saying beat it with a sledgehammer.
Yep,
but
that'll work fucking well.
Just make sure it's something that's full tang. Make sure it's not one of these ones you buy from the mall and you take the handle off and the full tang is like a 1/4 inch all the way down, but it's a full piece of steel.
Yep.
Like JD's got a perfect example right there.
That is a great knife.
If you've got something like that will last up to some abuse, I mean, you may look like a Rambo cosplayer, while you're out there, but everybody will appreciate the hell out of the fact that you could baton up some wood real quick to make a small fire for everyone to be able to cook.
I'm not gonna lie. While I was out at the first few days we were out at the field, got made fun of for bringing my own bag and shit. It was asking me, who everyone was asking for snacks and asking if they had any extra shit.
The guy they clowned on.
yeah. They started to appreciate after the first day or so.
Exactly.
Moving on from equipment, I think any other things you want to talk about equipment before we move into tactics and then to training?
No, I'm good.
The last thing I would like to mention, obviously not everybody takes it serious, but you were talking about cleanliness. Mm-hmm. You're gonna have to wash yourself. Soap is
baby wipes.
I was say soap is going to be important, but not as important as a baby wipe. Full body wipes, whatever. You can buy a box of these from Sam's, man, or pick your local big box grocery store, and you'll get 40 packages of these. They're $1,000 per baby wipe bag or whatever. 1,000 of those. We want to talk about creature comforts. You're cleaning your whole Michelangelo area. You know what I mean? Everything's cleaned and delicious and fucking everything else. It smells like cucumber and lime, while the rest of your body smells like straight ass. You know what I mean? At least your ass doesn't have to smell like ass. And
exactly, because that's the part that's going to start hurting after that 15 miles you're walking the next day.
And when you get an infection anywhere in your no regions, you want to talk about not being able to do anything. That's how that goes.
That's very quick.
Yeah.
So no one mentioned the knife. I had to throw that out there. The baby wipes or dude wipes or whatever, boogie wipes.
And they don't take up much space either. Like really, they're pretty freaking compact. And
in terms of wipes, what JD was talking about, they sell these things. They're called toilet paper tablets. They're about the size of a nickel, but they're about 1/4 inch thick, and you can get 100 of these things in a small Ziploc bag. And all you have to do is get them wet, and once they're wet, they will expand out into a pretty good square of toilet paper, and you can just use and toss, so you don't have to worry about washing.
I want to pause for a second. I want you to take a nice, good look at how JD looks in this camera, and tell me that doesn't look ominous as fuck with the knife in his hand and everything.
I put the mic on my knife.
Oh, well, that explains it. Okay.
Yeah, that's why I'm holding my knife.
All right.
I'm glad that's the only reason.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I know you didn't like your neighbors, but you don't have to.
These are all jokes to anybody that may be listening. He's not
Yeah.
actually trying to stab his neighbor.
Actively at the moment. No, JD's he's a little inventive with his prop work. So if we're talking about leaving and doing all that, why would you need to leave? We have the natural disaster, in this case, a hurricane, eastern seaboard type area, or maybe the Gulf of Mexico, and you're getting away from the water where the most damage is going to occur. We talked about some equipment we'd like to have on hand to keep us from perishing on the way. And assuming that there's no Red Cross camps that you can stop at, me personally, I would avoid all of that altogether, because when you are part of the cattle, you get put in the cattle cars with the cattle.
Yep.
No, thank you. I'm self-reliant for a reason. Well, let's move on to the training. I believe we've covered the vast majority of things that people will need to carry.
So let's move into, I want to say tactics, so we can talk about like specific, like have a plan. We'll talk about a couple pieces of the plan. The first thing I want to go over is you can't just have one plan. There has to be, we call it a PACE plan, a primary, an alternate, a contingency, and emergency. So your primary is like, yeah, I've got plenty of time. I can just walk along, like what you're saying. While everyone's stuck in traffic, I'm just going to walk along the road all the way out. Alternate plan. Let's say there's bad accidents. They have the whole road closed down. You're going to have to pick a different route. You don't want to try and do that on the fly. You get lost. You want to have kind of an alternate route on how to get out of the city, how to get to high ground. Maybe a different road. It's not that crazy. You're just taking an alternate route instead. And we lost JD. So I'm going to go ahead and stop there before we continue. Oh, wait. JD Mobile.
Let's see what happens. We got an echo.
JD, how do you do?
Giving us the old silent treatment, eh?
Oh, he is dark.
That, sir, does not fly in this podcast. What am I? 1, 2, 3. I'm 4 beers in already. I feel like you guys are lacking.
Yeah, I can't drink any more than I have. I polish off my glasses as much as I'm gonna get tonight.
Gotcha. Well, I'm gonna pour a shot. Well, I have a little left of this, and then we'll give JD a minute to come back.
I can hear you.
Welcome to the shit show.
Testing this audio. Can you hear me on this audio?
Yes.
We can.
Okay, cool. I'm doing a quick move.
All right.
So you guys are good to keep
Everything
going?
good?
Sure.
All right.
Yeah.
So alternate is just a different road, really. Just maybe instead of taking the interstate, you take a side road on the way out. Contingency. This is where the roads are down. You cannot take a road, so you've got to know your path on the way out. Maybe following a wash on the way out. Emergency is you do not have the ability to take the roads, and the water is you're too late to get in the wash, and so you got to take the walk along ridges. You have to have a plan for that. You can't just be trying to figure that out on the fly. Now, granted, that's a very broad example. That's something that everyone is going to have to figure out for themselves based on where they live in the city, based on the terrain features around the city, and based on how much of a warning they can expect on what their pace plan is going to look like for a plan of action.
I would imagine that the emergency route be for the guy that was at work, maybe in town or out of town, but got caught in all of the automotive congestion, so to speak, on the way home to gather his get out of town gear. So he started behind the curve. And once he got his stuff on and he's snapped in and buckled up, can't get in his vehicle, or he can, but he can't get his vehicle out because everybody's at
the congestion. Yeah.
Park that son of a bitch and just literally head for the hills. Go for high ground, get out of there. And you should, everybody, I can't say this because there are a lot of people that move around and not everyone takes the time to do this, but if you take time to go around your city, go around your town, go around your whatever, and know a few neighboring areas, make some friends in those areas, and you're like, hey, if something happens, is it cool for me to crash in your backyard for a little bit with a tent or something? Sleep in your barn, pick a place. If they don't let you stay inside their house, that would be great. That would be ideal because you at least have a direction to go in. You've walked there before, or you can follow landmarks and get there relatively quick without a map, without a compass. But that would be ideal. In an emergency, you may not have that. In an emergency, you're just trying to get the hell out of the immediate danger zone. So you're in the splash zone and you need to leave. That's what I imagine there.
And so another way to use your pace plan is not just for the actual plan of movement, but another good example is actually what it's most commonly used for. The pace plan is for means of communication. So you want to be able to primary, I'm going to call my family. Cell towers are congested. Alternate, I'm going to try and send a text message. Okay. Contingency, I'm going to be trying to contact them on radio if that's possible. Emergency is me sending, they know if they see a flare off in our emergency direction to come meet me there. That's an example of very, very rough example of what a pace communications plan would look like.
But if everybody is on the same page of, hey guys, if something goes to shit, we're all meeting at Uncle Tom's house, right?
Yep.
Uncle Tom's house is over here. Everybody already knows. If you don't hear from me or you get to the house before me and you gather your stuff at these level of events, do not wait. Go. I will catch up with you at Uncle Tom's house. We all know where to go to Uncle Tom's, right? So it's going to be different for every person. And it's going to sound like what we're talking about is being a little extreme or far-fetched. But I'm just going to put this out there. If you are not doing this actively, especially in the world we live in right now, you are currently
behind the curve. You're putting yourself putting yourself at a huge risk.
You're at a disadvantage. If you ever wanted to be in one, this is how you get there. This is PPP, piss poor planning.
Yep. So what else you got for us on tactics, Mr. JD?
So I don't know if we've talked about it yet, but I mean, I don't know if any of you watching have ever been to California and grew up in California, but something that California was very good about, at least for me in schooling, was we talked about our earthquake prepared kit and making sure that you are prepared to do that and having that conversation. Like, I know a lot of people don't want to have a conversation with their kids, but I think having a conversation with your kids of just being like, hey, this is where we're meeting, this is where our supplies are, and kind of moving forward from that, I think just being prepared is not a bad thing. I know some people, me in Texas actually recently ran into somebody on stream who thought preparing is a scam and a waste of time and it's only for crazy people.
Okay, that's interesting. I want to see that interaction. Send me the link to that stream whenever you get the chance.
It was bad.
Was it something to the effect of, hey man, people in Houston or whatever I think it was Houston that got flooded pretty bad. People in Houston wish they were prepared. Like you see how many people freaking died because they weren't prepared. Like, you don't have to be a crazy bunker prepper to like just be prepared for natural disasters and shit. Like,
yeah,
blows my mind.
You live in Hurricane Alley. You know there's hurricanes. Be prepared for a hurricane. You live in Tornado Alley. There's an alley full of tornadoes. Be prepared for tornadoes.
Even where I'm at, like,
be prepared for an earthquake.
You're in California. It's gonna be on fire 80% of the time. Be prepared for a fire.
Like what even where I live, like I don't have any natural disasters like a tornado or an earthquake or hurricane that I got to worry about. But the desert is fucking mean to electricity, and it's not uncommon for power to go out. And then, now granted, that's not necessarily something you got to get up and leave for 72 hours, but everybody has something they should be prepared for. If power goes out, I don't got running water. If I don't already have water ready to go, I'm screwing myself. Just being prepared in whatever that means for the area you're in.
You mean you're in the middle of a desert where there's no water, which is the most scarce resource already? You mean you're just gonna leave yourself to the elements? I mean,
Yeah.
that sounds like a perfectly reasonable plan. Why wouldn't you do that?
Yeah, let me know where your address is. That way, after you're gone, I can go over there and see what scrounge around whatever you did have left.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Hey, while you guys are spending $1,800 to $2,200 on these Daniel defenses and all these other SR25s and all this other awesome, I'm gonna just use acronyms because I don't want to make all the famous things more famous. But while you guys are doing that, essentially you've become a very cool loot drop. Thank you.
Yep.
I appreciate that. Now, for the rest of us that live in reality, we do realize that our forefathers, and this is the reason I take it from that way, the people before us, the don't tread on me people, they lived in the mountains and they lived in the woods, they lived in the swamps, they lived on the coastline, they lived everywhere that it was not easy, it was harsh, and whatever you cooked, you ate. There was no wasteful society like we have now. Things weren't, you didn't drive to a brick building, reach into a window of that building and have food. You had to raise your cattle, you had to raise your sheep, you had to raise all these things. There was a way to go about it. And on top of that, you planted your gardens, you grew your own food, you knew where it came from. And if you didn't grow it, your neighbor down the street, hey, Thomas grew a bunch of cucumbers, man. I'm gonna trade some yams for these, whatever the deal is, or the potato, right? I'm not talking about the president. I'm talking about the food. The potatoes are great. You know what I mean? You can do a lot with it. If you can do that, you're already ahead of the curve. And everybody before us, that's why we're here and we're in the great, super comfortable, cushy situation we're in, is because the people before us roughed it like no tomorrow. They didn't bitch. They didn't complain. At least that is on record. They just said, this is the way the fucking world is. And we're going to be tougher than the world. Fuck you. Come at me, bro. You know, that kind of mentality. And I feel like the fighting spirit of that is important. And it is a super soft, passive way to be when you're just growing your own food in your backyard, or you got what they called in World War II, your victory gardens, you know, where you're growing your own food just to lower supply chain strain and struggle because they're sending food off to the whichever theater.
That little bit of self-reliance does wonders. Just that little bit right there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't mean to go on a tirade, guys. I'm just saying that
you're good.
That it's not just in America, but anywhere in the world, it's been that way. Things are not always going to be this good. Mm-hmm. We need to be prepared for when they're not.
Europe didn't believe what was going to happen in Eastern Europe. Like Western Europe, the powers in Western Europe laughed at the United States whenever they said, "Hey, it looks like Russia's about to do some funky shit." And the status quo is not always going to be the status quo.
The guys in Eastern Ukraine, they weren't laughing, and it's not to poke their chest or talk shit. I'm just saying that those guys are probably caught off guard, just like everybody else. And there was no bug out plan for these guys. There was no, hey, I have all of my stuff set up to get out of here. There was none of that. Think about who's flooding over the southern border. You don't know who's coming in because they're not telling us. And the people they catch, they're releasing them with no fingerprints, no photo ID, nothing. They're just letting them go. So who's coming in? Whoever the fuck wants to come in. What are they doing? What are they planning? Whatever the fuck they want to plan. So I think and I don't want to give too much information, but 7 or 8 substations is all it takes to take out half the grid. Just throwing that out there, guys.
Yep.
Even if they don't use a cyber attack or there's no EMP shot up in the sky or whatever's going on by a nation state, a group of rogue actors, you know.
Terrorists have done crazier things before.
Yeah. I mean, everywhere around the world, that's what happens. And because America's been very coddled and safe because of how badass our military is, we have the biggest Navy in the world. We have the strongest Air Force. We have blah, blah. That's great. But when you can't use any of that shit because they're already on your soil and they came across the southern border, how badass is that F-15 when you can't use any of its ordnance because you're on American soil? What does that mean? That doesn't mean shit. It means all the people that are stuck here in this state or that state, in this town and that town, they have to deal with the consequences outright. And you can put boots on the ground, but we all know how the southern border is a pretty good example of that. We all know how the military is. They're following orders, and the people that give out the orders aren't exactly the most efficient at figuring out what the fuck we need to do, when we need to do it, and moving ahead of the curve. They're always behind the curve. So when seconds matter, right? Just know that the authorities are always minutes away. I don't want to put as much as I can, I don't want to put my dependence on anyone else. I don't want someone to look at me as a set of empty hands saying, please help me, please give me. I want to be the guys looking at empty hands saying, I can use you, you're going to do this, you're going to do this. And in exchange for that, you're going to get this and that. You're going to get food, you're going to get water, we're going to have a stronger community. That's the way. You need to have a warlord mentality. And I know that sounds pretty bitter, but that's what the fuck it needs to be. You need to look at, all right, guys, if someone's going to have a big swinging dick and needs to be in charge, it may as well be me.
Yeah.
So it's not great to hear, but if more people did that, you wouldn't have to depend on someone else because I don't need to depend on them. I have my own stuff. And if everyone in your neighborhood did that, guess what? There's no dictator. There's no guy saying, hey, there's no warlord. There's no guy saying that. Everybody's capable of doing the same thing. Now that's not the situation of leadership is not a problem. Now it's just, unfortunately, it's kind of a default democracy, which is, all right, guys, we're all together. What do we need to do? But that has its own problems. I'm just saying that at least now you have the comfort of that option instead of, well, we have nothing. And, Cleveland over there has all the food and, some other guy, pick another name. Thomas over there has all the water. So we got to kind of do what these guys say. Sorry, man. I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
Another tirade over. I'm sorry, guys.
No worries. Hey, that's why we're here. We're supposed to be bouncing shit off of each other. You weren't stopping, so I was going to let you keep on going. I want to hear all of it.
No, I appreciate it. That's it.
I got to wrap it up soon, so I want to move on to the last point, which is training. And I know you probably hear it a lot from other people is all this, like he said earlier, all this Gucci gear, that fucking first aid kit, that my Camelback, my sleeping bag, all that doesn't mean shit if you don't train with it. And I want to talk about specifically yeah, you can understand how to use it, but you find problems with your shit all the time whenever you're training. Just take your 72-hour bag and put it to the test with you and your buddy. You and your buddy go out and just survive off of it for 72 hours. If you can't, you come back home and you figure out why you weren't able to, and then you go out and you do it again. And every time you do, you're going to find a way to make your life a little bit easier. You're going to find, oh, I didn't need this, or I can't see this ever being useful. You throw it out, save yourself some weight, every little thing, and then you're going to find different things that you and your buddy like. Maybe your buddy likes to, whenever you guys encounter something, maybe you realize that wasn't the best way to react to it, and it's something that you and your buddy can figure out, and you're not going to be able to figure out where your problems are. You're not going to be able to figure out what's going to be necessary or what's going to be useful until you go out and do it yourself.
Yeah.
Walk your one random weekend, Friday afternoon. Take your emergency route out to and just keep walking your emergency route. Stop on Friday night, make camp. Go out, keep going. Saturday afternoon, stop. Take a nice break, and then start heading back. Put that 72-hour bag, your socks, your boots, put it all to the test and see how it feels.
I think that's an excellent plan. That's golden right there, man. That is perfect.
100%. And I mean, also not just testing how your equipment works, but also testing what works for you, because maybe you packed your bag wrong. Maybe you run yourself through scenarios. Be like, you know what? Maybe it would be better if I had my first aid kit here. Like if I was pinned by a rock, how am I going to get this back?
You have no idea how many times just this last week I'm like, this wasn't a good idea. Or I saw somebody else doing something in a certain way. I'm like, hey, that's a really good idea. And I tried it and it just wasn't for me. But I wasn't going to find out. If I saw a YouTuber running, I'm like, oh, that looks like a good idea. And then I get out of an emergency situation and I find out it wasn't a good fit for me. I screwed myself because I didn't go out and I didn't find out. You have to go out there. You have to find out how it feels for you. And the only way you're going to do that is by going and doing it.
Yeah. Kind of going back. This is my little keychain my paracord that I keep on me, it's a good amount. Like,
Mhm.
I don't know if you could see all of it, but
Oh yeah.
it's a good amount. It's pretty thick. So again, this is on my keys because these keys usually never leave me unless I'm in the house. But like it's on my hip at work. It's by my hand while I'm driving, you know. But just having this handy and ready to go on any given moment will definitely help you.
And so there's lots of ways to get training on like your specific equipment, like paracord, for instance. There's tons of YouTube videos on 100 different ways to use them in a survival situation. Your first aid kits, I think My Medic has tons of tutorials on when and how to use certain equipment. It's not as good as like going through a class or anything like that, but watch the videos, figure out how to use it, and then use it with your hands. Another thing I would recommend, Tex, I saw your cat tourniquet still in its wrapper. You got to get that thing prepped and ready to go.
Okay, well, the reason I grabbed that, I've got 8 of them right here off camera. I've got 4 staged, one in each vehicle. All right. One in each vehicle, and then one on my bag.
What I'm hearing is he's sending out care packages to us.
Just so just so you guys are aware, whenever you're mentioning like My Medic or The Medic or amedic.com or generic
whatever
medicalgear.com, whatever, make sure this between you and the Fitzpost guys, make sure you get a genuine cat tourniquet if you're going to do this.
Yes.
Do not think
don't go to Amazon for your tourniquets.
Oh my God! Don't do the thing with the rubber band and the little U paper clip deal. Don't.
Technically, it works, but from experience these last 2 weeks, a cat tourniquet, even a cat tourniquet, one of like the best tourniquet on the market. You pick somebody up and move them, that tourniquet has a chance of coming loose, and you got to check it. And that's another thing you need to train to make sure you're doing those things. And lots of these online TCCC or TC3 courses are going to show you. It's not as good as going through the class by itself, but if you don't have the extra money to spend, it'll get you there.
Guys, if you can spend $600 a month on beer or whatever other vice you have, I'm guilty, right? Guilty. Don't buy ammunition for a month or two. Figure out what's more important, because I don't want to be that guy, but I'm going to be that guy. If you plan on ever using your Second Amendment, right? Because that's what anytime someone talks about preparedness or survival or this, or first thing everybody talks about is the Gucci shit. Now I've got my night vision cameras, I got my this, I got my that, I got my fucking bump helmet, I got my fucking Team Wendy shit. I'm fucking ready to go. And I'm like,
I feel called out here.
Yeah, I'm like, that's great, man. Hey, you know what, bro? I hope you enjoy your Cry outfit and your built-in knee pads, and because you gotta need them. You're gonna need them laying in the dirt, bleeding out. I appreciate that. So I'm just, if I handed all that gear to you without your training, Blackout, do you think you'd figure out how to use it? Maybe. But
yeah, I mean, YouTube's great. It's a great starting point, but the only way you're gonna know, and it's a great starting point, but like, if you don't get out there, if you don't use it, if you don't do anything with it, it's just dead weight.
You, like I said, you've essentially become a loot drop. Thanks.
Exactly.
Because I have a Team Wendy helmet. I don't know how to use it, but this guy had it, and it didn't help him, so I'm probably gonna leave it there.
Exactly.
I don't know what I'm doing it anyway. So, like, I'm just gonna say this: if you guys are buying thousands of rounds of ammunition for practice and for protection and things like that, I'm all for it. Yep. I'm all for it. I'm all for it. I'm just saying
thousands of ammo for practice. You're doing a good job of preparing for one specific skill that is even a infantryman is not going to use that skill very often.
And I'm all about that. But what is the most dangerous thing you do on a daily basis? It's not being in gunfights, and if it's driving. I'll say if it is, you're probably in the wrong business.
Yeah.
But your negotiation skills suck, right? But you're right. Driving is the most dangerous thing we do. And if there's someone in a rollover blowout and causes them to go off the road, and they're laying there, and God forbid they're in a terrible situation, carrying a couple tourniquets on you, and it saved many lives. I don't want to drop a specific company, but I'm going to, because fuck it. I'm going to, and I believe in it. Refuge Medical's place where I got my training, 2-day course. They drilled my dick in the dirt, and I hated every minute of it, which is why I believe it is the best thing out there.
You said
Because-
Murphy's Medical?
Refuge Medical.
Yes.
Refuge
Yeah.
Medical?
Yeah, Refuge Medical. I'll shoot you at some point. I'll have to shoot you a link to that. But refugemedical.com, check it out. They have their kits are expensive, but everything's American made. Everything's guaranteed. I can give you the sales pitch. Doesn't matter. All the best gear in the world means nothing if you don't know how to use it. The
Yep.
reason I was talking about this is take 2 months of not buying 9mm ammo. Take 3 months of not buying 9mm ammo. Don't go and spend $400 to $600 on ammo. Turn around and figure out, hey, can I take a week off of work or a weekend, 4 or 5 days, whatever, cruise on up to Oklahoma and get some training. So you're going to spend 2 days there, and your first day is going to be tough. Your second day is going to be the toughest, and they're going to make you drink from a fire hose. But when you leave, if you take any time at all to be introspective, you will find all of your weaknesses. And 1 week, 1 month, 6 months down the road, you'll find more, because you'll realize if you take any time at all to just think back or take notes like I did when it was over, you'll realize there's a lot of shit I don't know. And there are a lot of scenarios in which this stuff may not be a combat situation, but it is applicable because there's a rollover, everybody drives, there's a head-on collision, someone runs off the road because they fall asleep, someone's drunk, there's a dude on a motorcycle, whatever the scenario, you may not be able to set bones, you may not be able to do all this on the side of the road, but you are picking up legitimate training to save lives.
Yep.
When you do the most dangerous thing you do every day, which is drive. And
You're getting ready. Go ahead.
No, I'll say, and if you're of that mentality of this is Call of Duty and we're gonna go out there and have a shootout, if you're
gonna
sending
get fucking
rounds,
killed.
tell me, Blackout, if you're sending rounds, what are they doing to you? They're sending them back. Right?
They're sending back. You're not.
So that's great. On Call of Duty, you could just respawn, go to the gulag for 30 minutes or whatever. You're not doing that shit in real life, bro. You get popped twice. You assuming it's not immediately catastrophic, you're probably gonna try to get the hell out of there, right?
Yep.
If you have any sense, you're gonna avoid it.
I'm looking at this their IFAKs on Refuge Medical, and some pretty good shit. It looks like not a lot of nonsense. I got a nice med kit, but it did have a lot of like random shit that's like, yeah, I'm never going to use this. I'd have a boo-boo kit for this, but no, this is some good stuff. It's got some quick clot gauze, burn tech. That looks like a burn bandage.
Burn tech field dressings.
Yep.
They have both vented, and they have 2 chest seals, vented and non, because things that go in the chest tend to come out the other side. So you have 2 holes, and they also teach you how to use it.
Yep. That's fantastic. And I'm lucky enough that I'm in a position where I get some top-notch training given to me because of my job. And
yeah,
I fucking love every second of it. But
lucky bastard.
Yep. And you know what? Watching videos on YouTube, it's a great starting point, but it's nothing like going and doing it yourself. And not everyone has a mannequin. Not everybody has a fake wound to pack at home. That's some expensive equipment. Probably honestly be cheaper just to go to the people that own them and get a course from some good certified TC3 people.
Do the training, get out there and do the things however you want to word it. It doesn't matter. Get your hands on, and that alone, I ripped these people off when I got the essential responder, which is all 3 courses. It was a 2-day thing. Again, they drilled my ass in the dirt, and I was not happy the entire time. At least for the last half, the second day I was there, I was not happy at all. Well, I walked away way more fulfilled and feeling way more capable than anything else. So, there's no YouTube video that can do that. And everybody's a YouTube, what did I call it last time? Everybody's YouTube certified. I watched the video on it, bro. What's your source? Trust me, bro.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. But anyway, that does not translate from a video and watching and practicing on yourself. Like, oh, tourniquet left arm right here. Yeah, that's tight enough. No, you need 2 more turns, because if you're not cussing at yourself while you're tightening this under no real stress, when you're caked in mud and people are screaming at you and hitting you in the face with a water hose, and your partner next to you has to put this tourniquet on your arm and you are not cooperating because it sucks.
Oh, an uncooperative person is very difficult to put a tourniquet on. Extremely difficult. Holy shit. God.
And to bring this back full circle, when you get the training, if they're worth their salt, there will be one or two people that will purposely be difficult, because not everyone's going to just lay down and say, "Oh yeah, bro, you can pack that wound." Nobody's going to put 2.5 feet of gauze into your thigh, and you're just going to be okay with it. There's no anesthesia.
Even if they are if they are the kind of person that like knows, they train with you and they understand that you're trying to help them, they just went through some sort of traumatic injury and you are giving them pain. Their brain is going to say, "Fuck you, I want to fight this."
And we had one guy prove a point. He's a solid, his name is Bob. He's I'm going to say 5'10", 5'11"-ish, I guess, maybe a little under, maybe 6 foot, I don't know. But he's maybe a solid $160, $170. It took 8 people to hold this guy down and apply a tourniquet to his thigh. 8 people. And this was to his credit, he's tough as nails. He's flopping around on top of a concrete floor. So he's hurting himself as he's providing a very good learning tool or a lesson to all of us trying to stop him. There are 8 people, and they're decent sized guys. Some of the guys look like they just walked out of the firefighter academy. They're really athletic, fit guys, and they're having a hard time holding this guy, and he's less than 200 pounds. And he is by no means cooperating. And it was to prove a point that not everyone's going to lay there and let you do this. You have to have the mentality of, I'm going to help you whether you like it or not. Because once you lose so many pints of blood, there's no coming back. That's it. You're done.
Yep.
So anyway, well, we can move past that. I just wanted to just really push.
I think that's our closing. I think that's our closing statement. Like for me personally, the last thing I want to say before I leave is, even with how I've been like training before and I've been practicing before, in the last 2 weeks, I've still been refining things, deciding, I don't need this gear, or I need more of this, or things like that. Just there's no way to know how to be prepared, like what you need to prepare for, if you don't go out and do it. And that's just what I want to close with: is have a plan, execute the plan over and over and over before you need to use it.
The more you sweat in training, the less you bleed in combat. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. In this case, it's just a hurricane for a more common, more likely scenario.
I think it applies because the combat you're in is with Mother Nature.
Yep.
And she gives no fucks who you are. Just throwing that out there. So I don't have much else to add other than that, fellas. Just actually get out there and do the things. That's all that I can say. Get out there and talk is cheap. Time is not. So get out there and do stuff.
That's a fact.
I love that.
And with that I love that. JD, any closing arguments? Closing speaks?
No, I got no closing. I think all that is get out, do the work. And I think that's all that we really need to do is do the work. Even if you can't afford these items, throw a couple weights in a bag, throw it on your back, go walk a mile, come back, get your body ready. Because don't think that you're just because you have all this stuff and you've done training in the past, that I could throw a backpack on any random Tuesday with that bag weighing over 100 pounds, and I'm gonna run that mile to get to where I need to go.
Yeah, do it often.
Maintenance.
Yep.
All right, well, I'm square with what I have to. I believe I've spoken more than enough, and people are probably tired of it. So,
well, with that, thank you all for watching. Have a fantastic rest of your day. See you later.
Remember, stay locked, stay loaded. I'll catch you guys later. All right.
Oh, is the live still going? We have to leave the studio as well.
No, he's gonna join back up and close it, I guess. I was gonna say a additional generic ending statement, like like I don't have a closing statement. Just like,
Oh
all right,
no,
guys.
the stream is still going.
It's all right. It's all right. He should jump back on. He has to. Yeah, let me text him. He has to end the stream.